Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to Facts and Two Cents. This is Petal. Hope you are all doing great. Happy Tuesday. As you know, we are a channel that supports the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Harry, Meghan, Archie, Baby Lily, Mama Doria, Poola Guy, the chickens, all of us here at Sussex Squad. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you all doing, my friends? Hope you are having a fantastic day. Yesterday I took a mental break day. It was great to just not be thinking of anything, but just enjoying the weather again. For like a week and something, or we just had gray and rain and thunder, and it was just and flooding, and it was just all kind of mess in New York. And so I am really, really excited and really, really enjoying the blue skies that we've been having. It's like, oh, thank you, Lord. Normalcy back in New York. So hopefully that's how it is where you are. Or maybe some of you like the rain. So, some people love rain. So that's not me. Can't say that. Anyway, how are you all doing, my friends? We just say hi to my friends in the chat. See who is here for a second. Connie Bomber. Hello, Connie. Hanging out with us from Switzerland. Karen Emma, awesome moderator, is here. Nalu Thandu. Hello, Nalu Thandu from South Africa. Our awesome moderator Lydia is here. Hello, Lydia, and Fancy and Annie. Olive is here, and Lorna is here. Hello, guys. Anne and Mama Jane. Hi. Kenitha. Hello, Kenitha. Ash, how are you? Hanging out with us from London, our London peeps. Paulette is here. Perlina is here. Who else is here? Oh, Novidi is here. Emade, Elmsy. Oh, my goodness. My friends are all here. Well, not all. We're still some of them coming in. Some of them may not necessarily be in the chat, but that's okay. That's okay. We love you anyway, even though you're not chatting with us. That's fine. Lauren is here. Annie is here. Janice is here. Lottie is here. Mad World. Yes, I see you over there, Mad World. Kristen is here. Hello, everyone. Little Mac. Who else? Janice. And all our other friends coming in, we'll say hello to you as we go along. But what is going on in the world of our faves? They are silent, they are quiet, they are doing whatever they're doing in California. I say kudos to them. Let them be silent until they're ready for us to see whatever it is they're seeing. They want us to see. So I'm just happy, just let them be, over there until they want us to see them, which is really great. This is how they want to be. That, it's been great because the last week and a half, I guess, with all this stuff going on with Dan Wootton and all of that stuff, you see the temperature of the reporting on the Sussexes has dropped considerably. Like the attacks aren't there. Even when they try to attack, the teeth, the bite that it used to have is not there because people are pushing back, and they're pushing back really hard. We see, even when the GMB tried to go after the Sussexes, they get ratioed and then have to delete their tweet. I mean, it's really great. And also, I'm hoping that as a squad, we realize the power we have when we do not engage. When we don't engage and we're not sharing, there are still some squaddies that keep sharing nonsense from the British press, but it's a lot less than it used to be, and a lot less people are indulging in all the nastiness that comes from the British press and then sharing it. If you want to indulge in private, you do you. We all are adults. You can do whatever you want. But the sharing of it's come down considerably. And again, I'm hoping that we see that the power that we have. When we don't buy what they're selling, they have to stop, because there's no market for their nastiness. There's no market for their hate. And so all of it is dropped. The temperature is dropped. And I think also too, with Invictus happening and it being such a massive success, and then with William coming to New York and that being a mess. And apparently King Charles's thing in France was successful. except nobody really cares to really report on the thing. And the majority of people don't really care. So they're seeing that attacking the Sussexes, yeah, you could do that, but it's not really helping the royals, are they? And then with Kate deciding, like, nah, I'm not going, or whether it's William saying, I don't want you to come, whatever the issue is with those two, they don't have anything to, really report on when William does his Earthshot mass, because they don't care. Why? Because one, William is a hypocrite. So this is a whole environmental hypocrisy. What are you going to report? Plus William is boring. It's just what it is. I mean, I'm not attacking him, but that's just a fact. He does not have the appeal. At least if Kate is there, they could talk about her clothes, which, yeah, okay, they're really about clothes and they're really about fashion. We saw that in the Invictus. They really love talking about Meghan's clothes. Fine, you do you, whatever. But there is no substance to William and Kate. So now they're realizing, like, oh my gosh, we don't really have any, even if we try to go after the Sussexes, people now just come after us and we really look stupid because there's really nothing. We don't see them, and there's really nothing to be reporting on. And so I've been really enjoying anything could happen, and by the end of the day, stuff could blow up, and everything that I just said could blow up, and then it's all attacking the Sussexes again. Those people are crazy, so expect anything from them. But for me, it's been really good. It's been really good to see the little calm, and to take, so sometimes you just need to get away from that kind of nonsense. But people are still posting about Invictus games, and what a joy it was for them. And I saw this and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And so this is from I guess one of the studio directors, or the director calling the closing ceremony, opening and closing ceremony. He tweeted, or actually this is I think this is Instagram. I'm just going to move my banner or my little brand thing there so I can just read this and get all of it. There we go. And if you, as the little scrolly thing at the bottom says, if you haven't not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Click the notification bell so you know when you drop a video, and like and share the video. Thank you guys who have already done so. But if you haven't, do. So obviously that's a really cute picture of Harry and Meghan. And obviously this is on the final day of the games, because I recognize, it's so funny, I'm now tuned into Meghan and Harry's outfits. I'm so getting into being a fashion person now. And I'm like, yes, that's the outfit she was wearing in the last day. And when Harry and she was sitting in the audience and Harry was practicing. And so, yeah, so this picture was obviously taken there. So H-Man TVC, I don't know. Wild name there. It says, so grateful for such an incredible September, whether it's the honor event at the IFA, the product forum at the IAA, the Invictus Games mega shows, IG23, with performances by Macklemore and Rita Ora, as well as the personal encounters with the really sympathetic and approachable Prince Harry, or the super impressive Gen Z Reba Baum, all of these other things. That was a month of innovation and creativity, impressive shows with enthusiastic audience, and a moment filled with emotions. Wow. And so, he's talking about, what an incredible privilege it was to be able to join those live events as a show caller, show director with these fantastic teams. And it was always so great. Again, I think the part that obviously sticks out for me is when he talks about, just a personal encounter with Prince Harry, with a really sympathetic and approachable Prince Harry. And I think that is what just about anybody who meets this man, so humble, so sympathetic, approachable, down to earth. I mean, put an adjective in there. And that is just that is just the overall theme of the people who meet him, and so it just, and again, when you see more and more and so many of these stories, or people tweeting or posting about their experiences meeting either Meghan or Harry, this is what you keep hearing. And so this is why, for me, when we are online, and I'm always an advocate of do not retweet negative stuff. Instead, as Harry said, tweet the good stuff, tweet the positive stuff, because the more and more and more you hear the positive stuff, people will get used to hearing that and start questioning all the negative things that people who have never met them are saying, because these are real life people who have literally met them, worked with them, and this is what they're saying, as opposed to a bunch of people who've never met them. you know and so it, for me, it's just really, I just thought it was like, oh, again, once again, people meeting them and just sharing their experience of meeting, well, at least him meeting Harry. I don't know, he didn't mention Meghan, so I don't know if he met her or not, but because again, he was calling the show, so he would have had to work with Harry as Harry was doing a speech and Meghan wasn't. So I just thought it was really, I just thought it was really cool to see that. Let's see. And it's so funny. Somebody posted this, but there was this commercial. Oh, uh-oh. I just knocked over my tea. I am so happy that the thing is closed and I didn't have tea in it, the cap, because again, my computer went on the blanks because I spilled tea all over it and all my keys wouldn't work. So I'm so happy I've learned to not put water or tea next to my computer. Whew. That would have been bad to once again have to go fix it. So there. Anyways, so there is this ad on Twitter, and it's actually kind of Audible. I mean, that's where I listen to my books all the time, so I'm very much an Audible person. But Audible is running an ad with this guy. I guess his name is comedian Jimmy Reese. I don't know. I'd never seen him before, and so part of the ad is basically advertising Spare. And it's so funny, like as you can see in the first photo in the bottom there, part of the ad is him looking at and reading Spare, and in bed is like talking about all the emotional roller coaster he's going through with reading Spare, and the wife is like, can you just go through that really quieter? And then, in the end, like, it's advertising Spare and the other books that you can read on the app. But it's kind of cool because I'm like, here we are, September. And, it's just really wonderful to see Spare just, again, the forefront of everything. And I was like, yes, Spare. But it's actually a cute ad. It's, basically it's Audible, advertising, their audiobooks and using Spare. So I just thought it was really cool. I'm like, yeah, normally I block all the ads. Every time I see the ads, I usually block them. But I was like, nope, this one I will keep. So I put the link to Radio Today that reported on the ad. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes so you can actually watch the ad about Spare. So yeah. And someone actually talk about Spare. I had mentioned that I have a book, and someone had reached out to me, and I can't remember who it was, that they'd be interested in. And then I told them to email me, and I didn't hear from them. So if you're listening to this and you are the one that reached out in the comments, which I cannot find, and said you were interested in it, please send me an email at factsand2cents@gmail.com, and so that I can send you literally sitting right here in front of me. And I would love for you to have that book. So there, because I use Audible and I have a Kindle version, so I don't need the hard copy version too. So yeah. Anyways, again, factsand2cents@gmail. Send me your address and I will send it to you. So there. What else is happening? Oh, there is this. we talked before about how the royal family, they just hide things, like how they hide, like, whether it's their wills or any of that stuff. Like, you cannot see their will for like 99 years or whatever it is. So in our lifetime we will never know. Well, at least we none of us would be alive, unless for a miracle that we're alive in 99 years or whatever, that we will know what happened or what is going on in the will, or unless somebody breaks in and exposes it or something like that. Other than that, we will never know what's going on in the royal family. And we know with historians trying to get documents from the royal family, it's like, it's they will refuse to allow historians to get records so that they can report correctly on them. They just pretty much rely on gossip, innuendos, fake news, all of that stuff, but never ever telling the truth about what happened and what's going on. And that's why it's so funny, because when Spare came out, some historians were really excited about the things that Harry wrote in there for historical purposes. Like, one of them was even really excited about when Harry wrote and described Balmoral, even described the sheets and the stitching of the sheets and all of those things. And they were excited because they never get all this information, because the royal family basically hides stuff, they change stuff, they rewrite history, and then you have these fake historians coming out with a whole bunch of lies, including one the last couple of days that's saying that how important gossip is about Harry and Meghan's marriage to history. And I was like, you people are so fake. I cannot trust anything I read about, just learning about these historians and how not I can't trust anything they say, because it's kind of like, y'all just depend on gossip. You have no facts, because the royal family pretty much destroy a lot of stuff. And so I'm just going to move my banner from the bottom there so that I can get all of this, and then remove myself. There we go. So that I can read this a little bit. So Mick Wright, who is a reporter in the UK, posted this. He says the Mail runs anecdotes about royal family destroying papers to conceal their behavior as a funny little joke, or I don't know. The Windsor crime family's instinct to burn the evidence is another reason why I support Republic staff. And so these are little things that the Daily Mail would write, these little things, and they would write it as jokes, but they're not jokes. It's actually really serious that they do this. One of the things that he posted, he says, Prince Philip could be enjoying a celestial chuckle as royal historians fume over King Charles's decision to allow a non-historian, his trusted aide, Paul Wybrew, to sift through the late Queen's private papers before they are transferred to Windsor Royal Archives. Philip ensured that no one could meddle in his legacy by forensically sorting his own papers in his final 2 years, and had boxes of documents delivered to Wood Farm Cottage on the Sandringham estate. He is not the first royal to control the narrative of his life. Princess Margaret destroyed 30 black bags of the Queen Mother's correspondence, including all her letters from Princess Diana. Another party says whatever Wybrew decides should be retained. Potentially includes late Queen's personal diaries, will become available to historians chosen to write Her Majesty's official biography. But the Royal Archive has a Room 101 where documents the family don't want anyone to see disappear. When William Shawcross was commissioned to write the Queen's mother's official story, the palace said he will be given full access to her personal papers. A source says that no doubt he thought he was, but he wasn't. And so basically they are just sort of picking and choosing what to give historian, or making some things just disappear. And the thing is, because you have a press where that is just basically they're licking their boots, that don't call them to account and don't demand this stuff of them, they get away with it. They get away with destroying stuff. They get away with changing history, or just, making things disappear, or pretending they're giving it to, to the historians so that they can write a correct, at least in British terms, correct account of what happened. Instead of doing that, they just, no, we don't want you to know. You can make it up. But then when you make it up, we'll then, fuss and whine about you lying about us, as they did with, whatever that show is that they're all like always whining about, and it's just like, as the historian said, why are you all complaining? If the royal family would allow historians to get the actual documents, then we would write, well, the British version of the truth. But as it is, we're left to make stuff up. And so that's why they were so excited with, even if they didn't care about the familial drama that was going on between the Sussexes and the others in the royal family, just on a historical level, to get that stuff from Harry was so important to them. So I just, yes. But again, if the press was doing its job, then the royal family couldn't get away with this for as long as they are getting away with it. Because again, if they turn the people against them, then they will either, one, they will no longer exist, and two, they might be scared into doing what they need to be doing. So very, very very, very interesting. But yeah, they allow them to get away with this stuff, and it's just unbelievable. Beatrice says, that scares me, which means Jason Knopf will doctor Meghan's email and text messages. Well, we saw them do that in court. We saw them, not only doctor it, but they took out, they doctored it. They took out stuff and tried to make it sound like something that it wasn't. And it wasn't until Meghan gave the full context of the emails, then you realize, like, oh, wait a minute, that's not really saying what they say it's saying, and so they will do stuff like that. And again, they are used to getting away with that stuff. They aren't used to people just taking them to court, or having to answer that in front of a court of law. And they're used to getting away with this stuff. And again, the press and the government allow them to get away with it. So they haven't been held to any kind of now we have the internet, and now we have regular folks can know this and go after them. But yeah, it's very interesting that they are allowed to do this. And again, on top of that, they are government or taxpayer funded. They should never be allowed to get away with stuff like that. If you're privately funded, you can do whatever you want. But if you are funded by the British people, then you're accountable to them. They have a right to know the truth. They have a right to know how much money you have. They have a right to know, what what the actual facts of whatever is going on. And they have a right to know that stuff. And yet nobody seems to be demanding it. It's amazing. But yeah, it's very interesting. Anyways, thank you, Beatrice. Beatrice and Dylan, I should say. And then the Nobel Prize is going. I think I did this yesterday. So yesterday, they had this for science as the Royal Swedish Academies of the Royal Swedish Academy of Science has decided to award the 2023 Nobel Prize in Physics to Pierre Agostini, Frank Krauss, and Anne Hewler for experimental method that generates, I've never seen this word, autosecond pulses of light from the study of electron dynamics in matter. I have no idea what that means, but they got the Nobel Prize for physics. And so it's really cool to watch them count down. And the big one is the Nobel Peace, and then the literature, and then the peace. And so I'm assuming those two would be the last ones that they will announce. But it's kind of interesting. I know they awarded somebody else today that I don't remember who they were, but it was really cool, and then of course the reason I'm talking about it is because all of our hands and toes and knees and everything across that Prince Harry is going to get it. for Invictus Games or Spare or both. You know, I don't care as long as he get it. You know, so I am really, really very excited. I've never been excited about the Nobel Prize before. Never paid attention to it until the only time I was really paid attention was when Barack Obama won it. It was just like, oh, okay. That was exciting. Beyond that, I have not really paid attention to it. So, but since The Hague, I have been like, come on, Nobel, you got to give it to Prince Harry. So we will see. Fingers crossed, toes crossed, and everything. What else is happening in the world? And we leave that calm, serene, and go over to Shutter Island and all the drama that's going on. I'm telling you, every day is just something else that's happening on that island. But yesterday, yes, this is Laurence Fox who's decided to shave his head. I was like, y'all are going through issues. So this is what he tweeted this yesterday, and I'm assuming yesterday they had a talk with their bosses at GB News, and so he tweeted that, "Go quietly, Dan. Go quietly." And I can only imagine, I mean, what that means, whether it's a threat to others that, Dan is looking to reveal stuff, whether it's, whatever it is, whether it's the pacified dance, like, dude, you try to, reveal stuff about others, they could do stuff to you. I think Laurence Fox has a little bit more and maybe a little bit more clout than Dan Wootton in the sense of, I think his family are very well to do in the UK. And so, some advice to someone, at least he said he used to be like a shoulder Dan Wootton leaned on before Dan tried to throw him under a bus, or at least threw him under a bus after that interview. But so for him to tweet that to Dan, it was just like, well, you could have just, texted it to him, but he put it out there in public. So whether it's to warn Dan or to warn the people that Dan may or may not have stuff on, very, very interesting, a very interesting tweet, or maybe just to get attention. That could be it too. The Laurence Fox is like that. But yeah, it's very interesting that he tweeted that yesterday, because obviously today, if you haven't heard, today GB News announced that they have fired both him and fake priest Calvin Robinson. And so it just, again, Calvin, dude, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what Calvin thought he was doing by his, like, I will not appear on Dan Wootton if Dan Wootton is not on the show. And it's like, well, then you won't appear, period. And so GB News has fired both of them today. And, Press Gazette is like, GB News fires Laurence Fox and Calvin Robinson as Dan Wootton investigation continues. And I actually, just before I came on here, and it was just kind of too late to even bring a clip of it in, the GB News is not, I'm sorry, Byline Times is not reporting that by next week, Dan Wootton will be gone. And so, and also, what is his name? Frangopoulos, the boss there, the CEO of Byline Times, is also fighting for his own job, it seems, because again, he was also involved in a sexual assault situation at GB News. So he might be, fighting for his own job. Whether that news outlet survives or not, I don't see that it does, because again, there's so many things that is wrong there that is just plus it's losing money. It hasn't gained. I think it lost like 32 million pounds in the last year or something, and has only made 3 million. They only had like a 3 million pound profit or something like that. I don't know how that's sustainable. But we'll see. But anyway, Press Gazette continues, says GB News has fired Laurence Fox and Calvin Robinson and said the investigation into Dan Wootton is ongoing. The broadcaster said in a statement, Laurence Fox and Calvin Robinson were both suspended last week pending internal investigation that has now concluded. As of today, just today, GB News has ended its employment relationship with Laurence Fox and Calvin Robinson. The internal investigation into Dan Wootton continues. And so we will see. Byline Times said they have it on good source that by next week, Dan Wootton will be bye-bye. So hence I guess the reason why, that little warning for Dan Wootton, leave quietly, or I would not, even if he has stuff on other people, I'm telling you, this is a situation of snakes eating snakes. They will not think twice about eating him. So that's all I'm going to say on that. So that might actually be good advice from Laurence Fox. And if that's not enough for Laurence Fox today, he got arrested because there is some situation with some transportation, something in the UK that I hadn't been paying attention to, that he threatened to rip down cameras or something like that, and police were at his home, and he got arrested because for inciting that people rip down these cameras or something to that effect. So if you're Laurence Fox today, not only were you suspended, now you're fired, and then you got arrested. So if you think you're having a bad day, think again. You could be Laurence Fox. You could have had police all up in your house and then arrest you. So if you're not Laurence Fox, believe me, you are having a wonderful day no matter what is going on in your life. So yeah. And what else is happening? So of course, the last couple of days, Byline Times has reported that the police investigation to Dan Wootton, 2 days ago, that the police has opened finally, it's been forever. They finally opened an investigation into Dan Wootton and all the allegations against him. And so that happened. And then all of a sudden, because we know that the British press had pressed mute and nobody would report on the actual allegations, they would report around it. Oh, he got suspended. Oh, he got fired from Mail Online. But they won't focus on the actual allegations against Dan Wootton. So all of a sudden yesterday, from 2 days ago that it was announced that the police are investigating. Then from that night and then yesterday morning, all of these news outlets started reporting on it. Even like tabloids that, the tabloids in the British press, as Hugh Grant says, it's like a protection racket with them. They started reporting it, like the Mirror started reporting it, and Reach, who owns like the Express and Mirror and all of that stuff, and owns hundreds of local papers, they all started reporting on it. Again, the Guardian was reporting on it. It was also on the National. I think the Independent was reporting on it. And finally, we were like, finally, the mute button has been, they've been active, turned off the mute button, and the press is now, they're freely reporting on it. And before you know it, the articles disappeared. And it's just like, what? All the articles disappeared except Byline Times. And for a long time, it was Laudable and Yahoo who had up the Nationals. This was the Scottish newspaper. They had up their articles. And it was just like, what is going on? Why did they delete all their articles? And so it was very interesting. Again, all of them almost at the same time deleted their articles. And the Press Gazette reporting on, including them, reporting on people just removing their articles for seemingly no reason. It says Guardian, Mirror, and various other Reach sites and news spreads, the National have all removed stories after a legal warning made by a lawyer acting for Dan Wootton. The Guardian story was published at 5:25 p.m. last night, which is 2 nights ago. And other sites appear to have referenced that article. The article has since been taken down. Links for each of the news stories have been removed, now return an error code alongside their original URLs, and publishers have yet to explain why they decided to withdraw the story. Press Gazette understands that the lawyer acting for Wootton had warned publishers about possible legal actions. And so Peter Jukes, who is the editor and owner of Byline Times, said he tweeted about it. He said, very weird anomaly here between Wootton and Brand. In both the target of investigation not named through the though journalists can infer from the public domain material who it is, ergo, expectation of privacy not reasonable because the matters are already public. And so, and the thing about it is, none of these outlets had any problem with reporting about Russell Brand. The moment, the police, actually they had the documentary, and it seemed like all the British newspapers were all in on it, and they all put out their stories at the same time, and they all put out that there's a police investigation. Nobody had a problem with it. Nobody pulled down stories. Nothing. There was no legal threat like, oh my gosh, privacy situation, whatever. They were all fine to report about Russell Brand. But again, all of a sudden, they all pulled down their articles and been pressing, muting and unmuting articles about Dan Wootton. And so it's just very, very interesting that how, and again, you think about, Wootton's lawyers threatening outlets. I mean, when you think about GB News, GB News is all about freedom of speech and freedom of the press. That's what they've been so-called preaching this whole time. Freedom of speech, and attacking anyone who they seem, that wants to muzzle them in any way. But here they are. The minute you go after them, they send their lawyers to shut you down. And so, which is exactly what they're doing. They are threatening news outlets so that they will not report the actual facts. And it's claiming that, privacy. I'm like, privacy? There is a public, the public has a right to know this. This is one, it's not public and it's not private. It's I'm assuming just about everybody knows this is happening. So you can't claim privacy here when it's something that is in the public domain. And it's just like, this is craziness, but that's what they're doing. And so Peter Jukes also tweeted this. He says, oddly enough, the threats Wootton's lawyer the threats of Wootton's lawyers not sent to us actually confirmed the story. Just to note, this is a clear slap territory. No proceedings have been initiated against us, in contrast with Brand. And this down below is the notice, I guess, Dan Wootton's lawyers have sent to other news outlets to get them to stop reporting on it and to pull their stories. And this is from Dan Wootton's lawyer, I guess. And I'm glad that Byline Times has they have all these people in all these different news outlets that just feed them information. And that's going on. So they sent them this letter for that Dan Wootton's lawyer sent to the news outlet. It says, we act for Dan Wootton. We refer to your message indicating an intention to repeat information published by Byline Times about our client. In Bloomberg LP versus ZXC in 2022, the UK SC5, the Supreme Court made it clear that any person under criminal investigation has prior to being charged a reasonable expectation of privacy in respect of information relating to that investigation. In publishing our client's name this evening, Byline Times has breached our client's right in that regard. They will now face the consequences of doing so in court. Were you in these circumstances to do likewise, you would be joined in that claim as a defendant. Given this clear and unambiguous warning, you would also face aggravated and or exemplary damages and a punitive order for cost on the indemnity basis. We would urge you to exercise restraint and act ethically and in accordance with the law. Should you do otherwise, you do not be surprised if you face the expense of litigation yourself. So this is what Dan Wootton's lawyer, this is the lawyer that is like, one of those go-getter lawyers that, attack lawyers, sent to the news outlets. And he sent that and they all promptly pulled their articles, including articles from the Guardian, which is surprising because the Guardian did their own, did their own investigation, and they even reported on some of the information about, what Dan Wootton did to one of the people they report on. And it was really, so it was very interesting that they also went ahead and pulled their article. And again, he is putting out there that that Dan Wootton, because any person, as it says, any person under criminal investigation prior to being charged. So just because Dan Wootton is not charged, then he has a right to privacy, and so his name should not have been out there, and which is so ridiculous, which is absolutely so ridiculous. And so one of the things, and again, why Peter Jukes referenced Russell Brand's case is, you have an issue with that information being out there, then your issue is not with the press. Your issue is with the police, because the police is the one that put that information out there. So don't be angry if the press, report on something that the police actually put out there. So the police is who you have an issue with, not the press. And again, these are the same people, i.e. Dan Wootton, who are screaming, freedom of the press, freedom of the press. We should be able to say what we want to say and write what we want to write. Well, this is the situation with the Russell Brand case, which is, again, Peter Jukes pointed to. It says, Russell Brand investigation, why Met Police issued a statement to the media despite privacy rules. Met Police statement clearly refers to Brand, but doesn't name him. The same thing as the Met Police statement about Dan Wootton. It doesn't name him, but the information there, you can look at it and it's like, yep, that's judging from the information, that's Dan Wootton. It's the same thing. It says, but this is what in Russell Brand's case, it says, for a decade now, the UK police forces have avoided naming criminal suspects prior to charge, abiding by a College of Policing guidelines. Nonetheless, the Met Police put out a statement on Monday in response to the Times Sunday and the Channel 4 Dispatch's investigation into allegations of sexual assault against comedian Russell Brand. The College of Policing guidelines states, police will not name those arrested or suspected of a crime other than in exceptional circumstances where there is legitimate policing purpose to do so. Such circumstances include a case where there is a threat to life or the suspect is on the run and public assistance is needed. That did not apply in this case. What did apply in this case and why they did go ahead and release it, it says the statement stems from the fact that it is public knowledge that numerous criminal complaints have been made against Brand. So the Met presumably felt it was a duty to assure the public that these were being taken seriously. It must have felt that some saying nothing would have been untenable considering the amount of interest in this case. And another part of the article says, as Detective Superintendent Furphy's statement made clear, the statement could also aid the Met in it could also aid the Met's evidence gathering. And so, and I'll link the whole article. You can read the whole article because that's part of what they're saying. Part of the article said, if you have been a victim of this man in whatever way, even though it's been a long time, please contact us. Please contact us so we can basically add that to our investigation. That is also part of the article. That was part of their statement. And in the same way with Dan Wootton, that was part of the thing. It's like, they're gathering information and putting it out there. This something, again, the public interest is there. This is a case where the public has a right to know because the interest is there. And also, they're also gathering evidence of people who might otherwise be afraid to come forward. It's the same situation with Dan Wootton. So the idea of bringing up like, oh, he has a right to privacy is ridiculous because one, the information didn't come from a private source. We are not knowing about this situation because, of the report that Dan Wootton is investigated by the police. We knew about this long before the investigation started. So that whole threat by the lawyer doesn't hold water. And again, it's literally done with Russell Brand. So it just, and again, you would think the news outlets would know this and, not pull the article. But again, fear. Talk about not, it's like, they always have the thing of, oh, we report without fear or favor. That's not the truth. That's not the case here, is it? And so, of course, the wonderful thing with the internet is whenever you see articles from these papers, especially when you see somebody like the Mirror actually writing facts, you archive it because those in higher up don't like the facts and they will pull that article. So people know that and they archive them right away. So that way it will stay there. And even though they've deleted their articles, I'll be putting all the links to the deleted articles so you can see the archive version, what was there. Who knows if they approach this story again, how they're going to change it. So now we know the archive is there of their original story. So this is some of what this is the Mirror story that they took down. A little piece of it. It says TV star and journalist Dan Wootton, 40, has been investigated by the police following allegations made against the suspended GB News presenter earlier this year. In a statement shared with the Mirror this evening, again, they spoke to the police. A spokesman for the Metropolitan Police Service says in June 2023, the Metropolitan Police was contacted with regards to allegation of sexual offenses committed by a man aged 40. They didn't use his name. Officers assessed all information available to establish whether any criminal offense has taken place. We can confirm that an investigation has now commenced into these allegations. Detective will continue to liaise with the complainant to establish the circumstances. There's been no arrest and inquiries continue. And at the bottom, they are now starting to reference and credit Byline Times with it, because before they weren't. Byline Times reported on a number of allegations against Wootton in June, alleging that the New Zealand-born broadcaster who wrote for the Mail Online and previously for the Sun had used fake online persona to bribe men into revealing compromising sexual material over the last 10-year period. Wootton vehemently denied any criminal wrongdoing upon the report being published. And so this is what the Mirror had before they took it down. And again, they spoke to the police. The police said this. This is not, them speaking to the police and getting this information from the police is not the first time the public was hearing this information. Everything we knew about this case has been told to us long before this case. We've been hearing about it since July. So again, the idea that they could now be like, oh my gosh, he has a reasonable expectation of privacy over being investigated is ridiculous. Privacy? We've been knowing about this since July. What are you talking about? This is public knowledge. And the public has a right to know because, again, it is in the interest of the public that they know. Why? Because of what he is charged with. And, it's just, again, the same thing with Russell Brand is this is a way for the police, to be out there saying like, look, if anybody else has been in this situation or has experienced this is the time to come forward. We are investigating this, and you put it out there so the public knows this is in the interest of the public. So I don't understand why newspapers would take down their articles knowing this for a fact. And it's just like, this is ridiculous. This is utterly ridiculous. Hold on one second. Oh, sorry about that. That's those Amber Alert things going off on my phone. So sorry. So for me, again, the instinct to press mute. And again, this is the Guardian article that they take down. They're basically saying the same thing. Again, I'm gonna put the link in the show notes. They basically said the same thing that the Mirror said. Again, very surprising that they would go that route of taking that article down, because again, they actually even wrote about the thing. They did their own investigation and wrote articles about their own investigation, basically backing up what the Byline Times said on their own. And so to see them follow that route too, it's just like, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that? And so Peter Jukes, again, he is the, the owner of Byline Times, says, and he is quoting, I think, this lawyer, and the lawyer basically says, very important, R.E. Brandon Wootton, the judgment is not authority for the proposition that the press may never publish that an individual is under investigation, but where the detail of the investigation has come from, a confidential source. So, for example, if the first time you're hearing anything about this case is because some confidential person gave that information to the press, and nobody knew anything about this, and the first time we're hearing about the Dan Wootton mess is because of this, then yes, they have a right to be like, oh, okay, this is a violation of their privacy. That should never come out unless the person is charged. That's a violation. A violation is not when it's been public knowledge for months and before the investigation. That's ridiculous. So also what's happening with Wootton and his lawyers is Speeder Jukes says, also he's all over Twitter, so it's great information from him. It says, just for what it's worth, Wootton's lawyer has been threatening people on Twitter with exemplary damage and punitive costs merely for linking a factual public interest article that detail a Met investigation into their client. Who champions free speech? There is no precedent for this. And he goes on at the bottom and says, I know at least 2 commenters, one of whom is a squaddy, by the way, who have been emailed dire legal threats merely for linking the Guardian, Mirror, or Byline Times article. That's right. They have big accounts. And Wootton's lawyer is threatening Twitter users with the same thing as he threatened the newspaper. And he's threatening to sue them because they linked the Byline article or the Mirror or the Guardian article. Just because they link it, he is threatening people on Twitter. Again, these are the champions of free speech, and you're coming on Twitter, a public platform, to threaten people for linking an article that is based in fact, And it's so wild because, again, you look at his, and we were just looking at it, where is his, oh, hang on one second. I'm going to get to all of this in a minute. Let's see. I'm just gonna, hang on. Where is it? Sorry about that. I'm going to get to all of that mess in a minute. Where is it? Here it is. Yeah. Because it's so weird with his lawyer, challenging people and demanding basically the press pull their articles, because in this his letter, what he basically did was confirm that Dan Wootton is indeed under criminal investigation, because it says, just by saying that the Supreme Court made it clear that any person under criminal investigation has prior to being charged a reasonable expectation of privacy. He literally has confirmed, just in saying that Dan Wootton is indeed under criminal investigation. I'm like, they need to teach this man how to write things and not give away all his client stuff, because just in saying that, he has basically just given away and told everyone that, yes, indeed, that story is actually true. So then the story is actually true. So why are you threatening people? It's not like they're lying. The story is truth. You just confirmed the story is true. So why are you out here threatening people? It's ridiculous. It is absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. And so, yeah, I'm just going to jump in your comments for a second before we go on, because there's a lot more stuff, as you can see. So I went ahead there for a minute. Let's see. Dale Beef says, the people that has been the people that he was shocking have the right to privacy. He didn't give 2 cents about that. No, absolutely not. He has been attacking people left and right, and he had no, look at what he's been doing to Harry and Meghan. Basically, it's to him, they did not have the right to privacy. Even after leaving, and even as private citizens, they did not have a right to privacy. Yet here is Dan Wootton, the champion of free speech, Except when the shoe is on the other foot, then they're screaming, oh, I have a right to privacy. Right, sure. We'll give you the same respect. We'll give your privacy the same respect that you gave others, which is none. So let's see. Lorna Williams says, I was talking to Anne, yes, and they are also making the publishers afraid of legal fees in the area of the UK law where the majority of cases publishers lose. Again, even with this, it doesn't fall under the privacy law like we were just looking at. It doesn't fall under it because, again, you'd have to prove that nobody knew about the story before you wrote the story about him being under investigation. You'd have to prove that, and they can't because it's a lie. I mean, again, they've been reporting this since July, so there is no basis for right to privacy there. So. Anne Lewis, oh, wait, the Amber Alert about something about flooding. Does that indicate danger? Well, usually if it says flooding, that definitely is. Yeah, no, I think this is something for me about wireless something. I have to read it after. So I don't know why. Maybe they're doing a test or something. I have to read it later. So thankfully, it's nice and bright, sunshiny outside, so there's no flooding. Obviously, we had flooding earlier last week, so downtown. Let's see. Lady T says, yes, it was a national alert. Our job reminded us yesterday that the alert was going to go today. Oh, okay. I have no idea. I didn't know anything about it. And it's not about a flooding. It says, this alert literally says, this is a test. So it's a test of the National Wireless Emergency Alert System. The purpose is to maintain and improve alert and warning capabilities at the federal, state, and local, tribal, and territorial levels, and to elevate the nation's public alert and warning capabilities. No action is required by the public. So yeah, so that's what this is. It is a test. Normally that's sometimes go out when, there's an Amber Alert or a child is missing, something like that as well. Or, for some my old college, or I still get their alerts like class is, no class today because it's snow or the rain or something. And it's just like, I need to turn that off because I'm like, I haven't been there in years, but I still get their alerts. Let's see what else. Let's see. Let's go on, actually. So there's even more. In case you hadn't, gotten enough of Dan Wootton and the mess, I'm telling you, Byline Times is on, it's like they are relentless. They are not allowing GB News to get away with anything, and it's great because more and more people, because, for us, like Byline Times is a big deal because it's one of the only outlets that really report the truth and the facts about stuff, and they really report without fear or favor. And so it's like a big deal to us. But in the UK, they're really, really small. They are a small independent news outlet. So the majority of people don't even know that they're there. And so, but more and more people are now really like, yes, we want your reporting, especially on social media. And so less and less people, I think, are likely to believe the nonsense of, the regular mainstream press, because as we see, they will press mute on factual stories because for whatever reason, maybe the royals didn't like it, maybe the government did, and then then you have Byline Times is like, nope, we report without fear or favor. We are just going to report the news and let it sit there. And so I love it. So they're on GB News, and no matter, again, we talked about the fact that GB News basically is the baby of the British government. We have 4 MPs who are currently working for GB News. And we, last episode, I talked about just how, Suella Brave, not Suella, Priti Patel, who's the former Home Secretary there, in a one of those conference things they're doing, singing GB News praise, and also Dan Wootton in one some kind of I don't know if it's an award thing they were doing last Friday or whatever, and they were all singing his praise and applauding him, had him stand up, and I mean all the people around him basically applauding and hooping and hollering for him. I mean GB News is literally what the British government wants. Again, it's like very right wing. It spouts stories, messages, and all of that stuff. And so, but then there's Byline Times, who is just like, nope, we are going to report who you are and what a cesspool you are. And so this is just in case you hadn't seen it, this was now an article that came out from GB News. Some of it we've heard before. GB News. It says 5 GB News men accused of sexual impropriety as the channel engulfed by Wootton Fox misogyny storm, from Byline Times. GB News has employed at least 5 men who have faced past sexual allegations of sexual impropriety, including one accused of raping a colleague and 2 others of groping offenses. Byline Times can reveal that in the wake of the broadcaster's misogyny storm, 3 of the men lost previous roles in other media companies following the serious allegations, while now suspended GB News presenter Dan Wootton advocated at the misconduct hearing of a 4th, accused of persistent sexual harassment. The 5th is the network's chief executive, Angelos Frangopoulos, who, that's the one deciding on Dan Wootton's fate right now, who was named in a sexual harassment complaint last year and saw a female staffer leave GB News with 5-figure settlement, having signed a non-disclosure agreement. None of those involved has ever been charged by the police, and it's not clear whether GB News asked these 3 who lost their previous job about the circumstances of the departure when they were being recruited. And the article is very, very detailed about the, including Darren Grimes, who's one, always attacking the Sussexes. He is literally named in here, and all the things, really pursuing this guy who is straight. He is gay and the guy's straight, and really unwanted, and at the GB News, his bosses would not take it seriously until finally people were like, look, and they finally took it seriously, but they have done nothing about it. And the poor guy, it got to a point where what they did was move him to another part, so or I guess another show or whatever, so he never has to see Darren Grimes. And then now, instead of firing Darren Grimes, which actually Darren Grimes, I remember when this was playing out, he literally thought he was getting fired. And he had already even announced on Twitter that, his show was ending or whatever. And then apparently they had a meeting, and Dan Wootton, because he had growing influence at GB News, spoke up for him. And instead of firing him, much to the chagrin of the other reporters at GB News, Dan Wootton put in a good word for him, and they, instead of firing Darren Grimes, they, I guess they had him off air for a little bit and brought him back. And now what they do, instead of firing him, they would send a text to the guy who he was harassing, letting him know when Darren Grimes is going to be in the building, so that, he doesn't go anywhere there, so they don't cross paths. I mean, this is craziness. This is such craziness. And then the others, I don't even want to, you can read it yourself. And so to see all the things that is happening, including Angopoulos, who basically, because the woman who he had to pay off, basically cost her job because of what he was doing. He, sort of marginalized her and really affected, basically, for her, it became a hostile work environment because she rejected his advances. And so, when she left, and then, she got a lawyer, and then they settled it quietly, and, but she had to sign one of those non-disclosures where she could never talk about it. And so this is the same one again, who has been on TV talking about Dan Wootton and, and what's going on, but he has his own mess that, he is dealing with. So it's kind of like with them, most likely getting rid of Dan Wootton, I'm assuming his job is on the line too, because again, if you're going to be going after Dan Wootton, And you did the same thing. And yours was, Dan Wootton, all that stuff with Martin Branding was not when he was at GB News. So the person who should really be fired even more than would be the boss, because his stuff was literally at GB News. So both of them need to go. And so apparently, again, Byline Times just reported just before I came on that by next week, Dan Wootton should be gone. We shall see. Because they were even thinking of taking them off the channel and maybe, having them have a show maybe on, I don't know, they probably have a YouTube channel or something, putting them there. Who knows? But don't be surprised. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if they kept that. I wouldn't. GB News is that despicable. And again, they have friends in high places. So don't be surprised. So it is just really, it is sick. It is really, really sick. And so, yeah, it's... Anyways, moving on from that. Yes, this is, you probably saw this video. Yes, we were talking earlier about the landscape, the royal reporting landscape is changing because people aren't buying the royal mess as they were, a year, 2 years ago, whatever, even a few months ago when they were all in with everything they have attacking the Sussexes. That whole landscape has changed. I mean, again, people aren't buying their lies as they did before. The market is dwindling. And so I think a lot of them are seeing, they've read the tea leaves and are jumping ship. And they're like, we're not getting the assignments, we're not getting those juicy stories and those so-called exclusive. Kate and William aren't selling like we expected them to. We thought if we destroy the Sussexes and elevate with all those puff pieces, the Cambridges, then we will be set. And they're realizing that's not happening because, again, nothing they do could make William and Kate happen. It's just not happening. And so now we heard that after 47 years of fantastic, quote unquote, years, we will be bidding farewell to royal correspondent Nicholas Witchell, who will be retiring next year. Nick has reported from across the world and presented key BBC News shows. Thanks for your remarkable service. And Nicholas Witchell used to be a war correspondent. The guy had a great job. And then I don't know what happened that they then demoted him to be the lowly, wretched royal reporter that he became. And if you remember this video, this at the bottom, if you've seen it, this is those screenshots are from a video where Nicholas Witchell, I guess at the Prince Charles, they were all, I guess, skiing or someplace, and they were doing one of those, let me take, bring the family, give you a photo so you don't bother us for the rest of our ski vacation. So Charles was there with William and Harry, doing one of those press interviews for the press pack, and Nicholas Witchell was the reporter asking them questions. And under his breath, and Charles not realizing the mic was hot, under his breath, Charles was saying what a horrible person Nicholas Witchell is and how he can't stand him. And all of that was picked up on mic and obviously broadcast to the world. And so that, and if you can see the bottom there, if you can read what Charles was saying at the bottom there, is him talking about what an awful person Nicholas Witchell is. And he's like, bloody people, I can't bear that man. He's so awful. He really is. And all of that was, and he was saying that to Harry and William, and Harry was grinning. And under his breath, not realizing how hot the mic was, and he picked up all of that. And so we have that for today, of Nicholas Witchell. But if you've ever listened to him on BBC, this man is bootlicker of bootlickers. I mean, if you think Jonathan Dimbleby was, who wrote that, Prince Charles's biography, he wrote it with Prince Charles, was a bootlicker. I mean, Nicholas Witchell is that to the 100th time. It is just, oh my goodness, who could forget him trying to talk about Archie? He couldn't even bring himself to say Archie was black. He couldn't even bring himself to admit, Archie's birthday. It was just wild watching him. And so many times people have complained to the BBC about his fawning, very partial report. I mean, it is just like, oh, is one of the most I can't even the words for Nicholas Witchell, but there are so many things that Nicholas Witchell has done that you're just like, oh my gosh. But one of the things he did recently was this one. When we all remember the Ngozi Fulani it's stuff with Susan with Susan Hussey and the Queen Camilla's racist aide and longtime aide to the Queen, questioning where Ngozi was from. And Nicholas Witchell decided, and thank you, Royal Suitor. Thank you, Royal Suitor, for reminding us and posting this. She's like, Nicholas Witchell's one-man show playing parts of Lady Susan Hussey and Ngozi Fulani in this exchange was an instant classic. And so this is the exchange I'm hoping that, I don't get they don't I don't know. Hopefully they don't lock me for this. But this is the exchange. I hope you can hear it.
Nationality are you?
Okay.
I am born here.
Actually, let's try this again. So I'll bring up the volume. Okay, let's try this again, shall we?
Lady Susan Hussey, where are you from? Miss Fulani, sister space. No, where do you come from? We're based in Hackney. No, what part of Africa are you from? I don't know. They didn't leave any records. Lady Hussey went on, no, but what nationality are you? I am born here and am British. No, but where do you really come from? Where do your people come from? My people, lady, what is this? Lady Hussey, oh, I can see I'm going to have a challenge getting you to say where you're from. When did you first come here? Miss Fulani, lady, I am a British national. My parents came here in the 50s. Oh, I knew we'd get there in the end. You're Caribbean. No, lady, I am of African heritage, Caribbean descent, and British nationality. Lady Susan Hussey.
And so that was Nicholas Witchell playing the part. That was like his one-man show, and it became was like I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was just like Nicholas Witchell out there playing the parts of Susan Hussey and Ngozi Fulani. It was just like, oh my goodness, and he would do stuff like that. And it's just like, I cannot believe I'm just listening I'm just listening. But, not only that, I saw this article that I had never heard because, I had not gone and look up Nicholas Witchell other than the nonsense that he reports a lot of the times. Again, so many people complain about his very partial, because again, he's a royalist and he's one of those older royalists that is just all about the royal family, even though, as Prince Charles says, I don't care about this man. I don't even like him. One of the things, I ran into this article and it was just like, I had never, I was on the floor yesterday and I could not believe what I was reading. I was trying to read. It took me forever to finish reading this article. I was laughing so much. But Nicholas, this is the kind of craziness that you get with Nicholas Witchell. And so this was one of those classic articles from Nicholas Witchell. The BBC man who sat on a lesbian. It's just like, what? It says, despite a distinguished 30-year career covering war zones from Beirut to Buckingham Palace, Nicholas Witchell's place in media history became assured on the day in 1988 when the BBC 6 o'clock news was targeted by militant lesbians. The gang of three, who were protesting against Clause 28, burst into the studio at the television center in West London during a live broadcast, while indomitable Sue Lawley continued to read the bulletin unfazed. Witchell leapt from his seat and and quelled the uprising. He later wrote, I thought I had better do something, so I unplugged my mic from the desk and tried to drag off the woman who was shouting at the top of her voice. The woman was proving difficult to drag off because she was handcuffed to the desk, which was coming with her as I pulled. She was writhing and struggling and shouting. In advice, which Prince Charles would have done well to have heeded today, he added, the microphone was still on. So I placed my hand over her mouth and said, you have made your protest, so please be quiet. She later claimed I swore at her, but I would hardly do that with the mics on. The incident provoked the memorable Daily Mirror headline, Beeb's man sit on lesbian. And I was cracking up. I mean, this this is the kind of ridiculousness of Nicholas Witchell, along with his crazy, royal reporting, if you can even call it reporting. Again, a lot of it is just majorly, falling at the feet of the royal family. But I ran into that article. I didn't know anything about him, and I just happened to run into that. And I just thought it was just the most hilarious thing in the world. Just imagine Nicholas Witchell, this tiny, wiry person, dragging off and then sitting on the woman, and then them naming it, Beeb's man sits on a lesbian. It was just like, okay, whatever. But anyways, Nicholas Witchell is leaving, and so he has decided he's had enough of royal reporting again. This man started off as a war reporter, and then somehow they got demoted into the lowly position of royal reporting, basically royal bootlicking. And so he has, I guess, read the tea leaves, and he is leaving. And so another person, oh, thank you so much, Nash. I appreciate it. It says, thank you for everything, for the wonderful birthday. Oh, wait, this is your birthday? I really appreciate it. Oh, wow. Happy birthday. Oh, happy birthday to you. Oh, wow. Was I the only person that didn't know it was your birthday, Nash? I hope you're doing something fun and exciting. Wow. And such an honor that you're spending part of your birthday here. So, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nash. Happy birthday to you. My crazy birthday singing, but happy birthday. Oh, such an honor that you would spend part of it with us. And so whatever you're doing, you're donating on your birthday. I should be giving you stuff, not you donating. But thank you anyway. I appreciate your support. Oh, that's so nice. But back to this. Another person who has read the tea leaves. You would remember her, Kate Mansi from the Daily Mail. She was an editor from the Daily Mail. She has posted today that she is also leaving. She was a part royal reporter, part, attacking the Sussexes. And you would remember her because Harry is literally sued the Daily Mail and for an article she wrote. And so today she posted, I am excited to say that I've decided to leave my executive role at the Mail on Sunday, to start my own freelance business. I had an incredible time during the past 8.5 years at the paper, first on the features desk, and then as an editorial assistant. And she posted other stuff. But she is also leaving. And so she does a lot of royal reporting for the Mail, and then they have like this podcast thing that she also is on a lot. But again, we remember last year she was the one that wrote the story that Harry, as you can see back here, this is where it all started, that Harry says, give me back my bodyguard, as he threatens to sue the British government. And basically part of it was that Harry wants his taxpayer-funded bodyguard back. And then when Harry and his people hit back, it's like, no, we offered to pay. She then proceeded to write an article claiming that Harry is lying, basically, that he did not make an offer to pay for the security. And Harry basically has sued the Daily Mail because for a part there, the government, that very arrogant lawyer, we talked about him before, the government backed up her claim. And then obviously Harry and his team proved that he did make that request at the so-called Sandringham Summit, even though the Queen's private secretary did not present that to Ravek. as we've learned later. But Harry has sued the Mail on Sunday for her because of her article, claiming that he lied and all of that stuff. And Harry sued them for libel. So that case is actually still there. There was not been a judgment on it. So we will see. I think the first part of it, Harry had won that. Harry got a victory in it, but on a whole, the case is still there. But I guess she is again reading the tea leaves, and she has now vacated. And so don't be surprised if you see a lot more of this. That people are realizing that the royal reporting that that cesspool that they were in, just feeding on the Sussexes, that well is drying up. And so they're like, I'm sure a lot of them are like, let's find something else to make money off, because again, now and again, even you look at, say, Dan Wootton, he has not been on. So the likes of, say, what's her name, Angela Levin, Tom Bauer, and all of those people who would frequent Dan Wootton's show. Lady C, I think, was one of the people on his show, and all of them, yeah. All of them are out money, because why? They would all be on Dan Wootton's show. And now none of them are being hired. I'm sure some others would pop up and hire them, but they have not made money in the last week and something, because why? Dan Wootton hasn't been there. So very interesting to see what will become, especially the older ones who their way of making money was trashing the Sussexes. So it'll be very interesting to see. But yeah. And talk about this one. We talked about this, I think, the last episode with Afua. I think I said it was Afua Scott, but I think her last name is actually Hagen. So she was the one that joined with Jack Royston in that fake debate. And then obviously they got ratioed, and then she blocked me when we all called her out for participating in this fake debate, and she blocked a whole bunch of squaddies, and then proceeded to say, I think I heard somewhere that she said that people were attacking her weight and all of that stuff. I don't know. I didn't see any. I mean, I would hope people are more mature than to go attacking, people's looks or their weight or any of that stuff. I would hope people didn't do that. But apparently she said that happened. And she had locked her account. GMB took down their post because they got pummeled. And so they took down the post, yes. And then, so I was like, okay, maybe she's taking time and thinking and reflecting on the error of her ways. And then Tessa Dunlop posted this, and you may have seen this photo before. That's her, Tessa Dunlop, in the middle there, who is one of those, let me go on every talk show to pretend that, I'm sort of like the middle ground person so I can make money on these fake debates about the Sussexes. That's her. Always you'll find her on Piers Morgan's show and all these other talk shows and GMB and stuff, doing the same thing, just basically making money off of these fake debates about the Sussexes. And of course, that's Sharon Osbourne, who has been it seems like her whole career now is attacking the Sussexes. And there is Afua hanging out with them. And it was just like, are you serious, girl? Again, Afua had to know the content of these people, whether it's tweeting or whatever they say on the different interviews, because they're all in that circle, and to see her there, and it was just so disappointing. And maybe, maybe it's just a photo, that it could just be a photo, but it's not a good look, is it? It's not a good look, especially with Sharon Osbourne, known racist who has no intentions of changing her ways at all. No intentions. And there she is, gritting it up with them. And it's just like, girl, really? Really? And so look, anyway, moving on. Moving on from Afua and her mess. And I saw this quote on Twitter, and I was like, you know what? This is so true. It says, there is no more useless job title on the planet outside a fry cook than royal expert. Because these experts are always wrong. At least a fry cook can confirm French fries are done. I was like, you know what? That is perfect. That's perfectly describes royal reporting. Perfectly describes it. And anyways, we're going to go through this quickly, and then I'll jump and stay in the chat for a bit. I don't know if you guys have seen this. this woman, this this woman, I guess she says she's like a first-time author or something, but she wrote this book and self-published it called Her Royal Highness. And this book, if you look at the photo in the middle and the photo on her book, her name is AJ Arnold. And she wrote this book. She, as you can see there, she says she's she's a 30-something-year-old mental health professional who fell in love with love stories. She writes spicy romantic comedies and that showcase copious amounts of secondhand embarrassment and laugh out loud moments and always end happily ever after. So she wrote this book about which, if you look at it, completely is based on the Sussexes. And I mean, I haven't read the book, but judging from the cover, she uses Prince Harry's likeness. I mean, if you see, look at the cover, I mean, it's just like, that's Prince Harry, that's Claire. And then she takes Meghan, or this dress that is, very much like the dress Meghan wore when she was here, when her and Harry came for the Intrepid, or the awards at the Intrepid, and then erases Meghan and put himself, and I'm thinking it's herself with the blonde hair, instead erases Meghan from Harry and puts herself, or a blonde woman, instead. And not only that, she uses Meghan's child name, Archie, to name Harry's character. And it was just like, are you serious? Are you serious? And apparently the story is about royals and all of that stuff, whatever is happening, but using Prince Harry's life. I mean, you look at the picture, that's Prince Harry. You don't even have to guess. It's Prince Harry, and, using Meghan and Harry's child's name and then erasing Meghan and putting herself there. I'm assuming that's her in Meghan's dress, or a dress that looks very much like what Meghan was wearing, and completely erase the Black person and put her blonde self in there. And it was just like, so people, obviously, when people realized it on Twitter, went after her. They just went after her. And it's so funny, by the time I heard about the story, so many people had gone after her. I didn't even bother, because I was like, yep, and so and I didn't even realize the press, obviously stuff, squaddies go after them. The Daily Mail picks it up. And so I ran into, I guess they did an article about her. And so after people went after her, she then came to her, she got her come to Jesus moment, I guess. Because, I mean, look at the larger picture of this. This is Prince Harry. And then you gave him the name Archie. It's like, girl, what were you thinking? So when, obviously the internet went after her, she came to her senses and then decided to apologize. And so this is her apology. This is what she said. She says, advanced readers copy, which I guess, oh, goodness, my thing is running low. Hang on 1 second. Let me plug in my computer before it dies. Hang on. Okay. It says, advanced readers copies are released so that the author can collect critical feedback before publication to address any issues. As someone who had never indie published before, I made the decision to release Her Royal Highness on NetGallery to garner such feedback. It became clear to me, however, that there were some themes and elements to the story that were problematic, to say the least. I immediately began work to correct those issues, including scheduling another round of edits. As I received more negative criticism and realized that I had caused harm to those in all communities, but especially the Black community, I was deeply saddened, embarrassed, and ashamed. As someone who loves Harry and Meghan and was inspired and touched by their amazing story, I wanted to amplify their goodness, not seek to undermine it. So I made the decision not to publish Her Royal Highness or its spinoff, and will not be pursuing indie publishing again anytime soon. I know that this apology doesn't fix what was done, but I hope it serves as a way to admit that even though I did not intend to harm or belittle anyone, I did. And for that, I am deeply sorry. And so that was her that was her apology, and some people accepted it and some people didn't, whatever. It's like, okay, now don't do it again. And I appreciate the fact that she didn't try to make excuses about, this person did this or whatever. She didn't, she's like, look, I know what I did is wrong. She realized, like, erasing Meghan from a story and putting her husband and her child. I mean, girl, but look, we all make mistakes. She said it was a mistake. She is not publishing it. And I checked and I looked at all the links where her book was, because I guess from her thing, it had like links where the book was sold. So I checked all the links at Barnes and Nobles and Amazon and another bookseller that the book was going to be sold, and the links are gone. So she's taken them all down. She's taken responsibility for what she's done. And she said she's not going to be publishing it, that or the, or the follow-up to it. And it's very interesting. She said that she loved their story and she was basically a fan of theirs. And it's just like, it's so wild how, as a white person, how you could be like, oh gosh, I love this person, but yet you erase that the Black person and put yourself in there. And it's just like, for me, if I were her, I would really sit down and really try to figure out how I could claim, or how could I feel like I love someone when completely erasing that person, erasing and that's how, and for me, it's scary how that was just so, and it was not even her thinking, like she didn't even think about it. She just did it, and it was so normal for her to completely erase a Black person or a biracial person from her own story and put in a white person. It was just so easy that she didn't even think about it. And if people hadn't come after her and posted, like, you know what I mean, it would not have even been a thought. And it's just like, wow, that is deep. That is so deep, how easy it is for some people to just be racist and not even think about it, because it's so part of their culture, it's so part of who they are, or maybe their environment, whatever, that they could do that. It was just like, my word, But, look, we all have done things that we wish we hadn't done, and we made mistakes and whatever. So I personally will accept her apology and just, look out and make sure. It's like, okay, if she said she's sorry, she pulled it and all of that stuff. I was like, okay, you apologize. I personally accept it. Nobody else has to. Nobody has to feel like, okay, you have to accept her apology. You don't have to. Because, again, if she wasn't caught and called out, this would have been published. She would have been making money off of erasing a Black woman. She would have been doing it. But she, seemed to have, recognized the error of her ways, and she's pulled the book and will not be publishing it and not be publishing the follow-up. So, teachable moment, lesson learned, hopefully that, going forward, she would really start thinking about how she looks at Black and, and biracial people in the future, that this doesn't happen again. So again, teachable moment. I chalk that up to that. So there you go. Very, very interesting. And finally, on what I got to share, Kate Middleton, one of the things we talked about last time is Black Queen is like, apology not accepted. That's fine. That's totally fair. That's totally fair. And again, you don't have to accept her apology. So yeah. I'm always looking to it for personally, I always look, it's like, okay, you know what? Grace, and offer grace, and to see how, looking for change and looking to see how she would change in the future when stuff like, not even stuff like this, but, looking to see. And for me, I'm always into, allowing people grace to, I just believe we all have the capacity to grow and change as people. So that's why I offer grace. So anyway, but you don't have to. That's just me, how I think of things. But anyway, finally, Eton College tweeted this. Was it yesterday or today? I think it was yesterday. They said, His Majesty the King has approved the appointment of Sir Nicholas Coleridge, CBE DL, as Provost of Eton College to succeed Lord Waldegrave of Nothill. He will take up the post in September 2024 and will be Eton's 44th provost, and will be Eton's 43rd provost. So why is this important? One of the things that has been going around, one of the reasons why Kate is not going to she's not going next month with William to his Earthshot messes because George is, doing a lot of testing and all of that stuff. And while I don't know if the testing is for his school now or if it has part to do with Eton, but it's one of those things that, if it has to do with Eton, when it comes to testing and all of those things, it's very important to know how people get into Eton, especially if you are a royal. One of the things to know, when the queen was alive, this was her job. Whoever is the monarch is the person that appoints the provost or the head of Eton College. So when Harry and William were there, the person there was put there by the queen. As this person is, Mr. Nicholas Coleridge. If King Charles said no, he could not have had the job. The only reason he has a job at Eton is because King Charles has approved that job. So if you hear of any old George is doing an exam for Eton nonsense, even if he fails the exam or never does the exam, he's going to Eton. Why? Because that's who King Charles put there. They're not going to say no to George, the future king, whether he fails exam or not. And that's, for me, is always to seeing all the tentacles, all the places that the royal family has its tentacles. The fact that the royal family is the one that is approving an appointment, a job for, Eton College. I mean, you think about Eton College is where a lot of their prime ministers and all of that stuff come from. We think about Harry, look at how he talks about his grades. If Harry really had, when he was that young and he was going through his trauma and dealing with his mom and all of those things, if he wasn't a royal, based on the grade point, he may not, I'm sure he would not be going to Eton, but because of their stature and because of Granny was the one appointing the person who is the head of Eton, no matter what their grade is, they were going to Eton. And so it's very, very interesting to me how you have a country where one of the top colleges is, the person who is head of this college is a person that the king appointed. I was like, I can't even. This is ridiculous. Why? I don't even. There is like no separation, whether it's church or school. The royal family is head of the church. They're head of the schools. I can't even understand why this is allowed. So no matter what happens, this man would always be kissing King Charles's boots. He would never go. They would never call them out for anything. It's crazy. And so of course, there is a video of, I saw a video earlier today. Someone posted a video of Kate Middleton at some event talking about George's testing. And when that happens is because it is a narrative. Who sit around talking about your son testing? And the only reason they're talking about it is because they want to make sure people are not questioning the fact that he is, questioning the fact that she's not going to Singapore. This whole testing stuff is now becoming, for me, a lie, because it's kind of like, wait a minute. This is a narrative. You put it out in the press. You're trying to just talk about it so people wouldn't question the fact that you're not going to Singapore for other reasons. So it's ridiculous. And it's so obvious. That's why you should talking about it. So it's just craziness with these people. But anyways, enough of their mess. Yeah, so I'm gonna stay in the chat for a bit, and it's just madness. It's just like, oh gosh, really, people? Yeah, so let's see what you guys are saying. Cookies and Cream says, actually Sylvia, talking to Cookies and Cream, sorry Sylvia, says, you are right, she knew exactly what she was doing. Erase the biracial Black woman. There are some Blacks that wish they would erase Meghan, especially after seeing Harry love Meg. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think because they, she she seemed to be saying that she didn't, it wasn't something she was thinking about. She's a fan of theirs, and but it for me, I mean, maybe because I would think about those things. I couldn't be that clueless as to erase a Black woman and put myself if I was a white woman. But there are people like her that it's so natural for them to do it. They've been doing it their whole life. They've been erasing Black people and minimizing Black people and basically squashing especially Black women for so long, and benefiting from them, that it is nothing for them to erase a Black. It's just like it's part of who they are, and that's what it comes across as, So yeah. Terry says George's place at Eton is secured whether his grade is a P or an F. He doesn't even have to take an exam. He's the future king. He's gonna get in there. And so yeah, it just, and which makes me feel like, even, and I've never looked at even what school they go to and all that stuff and who the people are. I mean, does the royal family have a part in say or a say in who the leaders of those schools are, the school that they are now? I mean, I've never checked, but now that I'm thinking about it, that's something I want to go check. Do they have a part in putting the leaders of these schools? It's crazy. Yeah. Let's see. Cookies and cream. Oh, she's talking to, nobody's talking to me. Everybody's talking to each other. So Cookies and cream is talking to Sylvia. She says exactly. They would go after Harry. It was always Meghan that got the constant abuse, disrespect, and dehumanization. It's Meghan they're really out to completely destroy. So whether you're talking about her or that woman or the British press, yes, exactly. I mean, it's just the disrespect is unreal. I mean, even go, and again, she apologized and all of that stuff. But again, you go back, you can't, the disrespect, it's off the charts. It is off the charts. Like, I can't imagine loving someone and really supporting someone and then completely erasing them. I just don't understand that. So yeah. Let's see. Joyce Fo says we keep giving these people a pass for their belief to the point they don't even know when they are disingenuous. I'm assuming you're talking to that lady. If you're talking about that lady, no, she did not get a pass. Actually, the majority of people don't accept her apology at all. She did not get a pass, and that's why she is no longer publishing her book, because she got pummeled because of it. And not pummeled, but people just really called her out, as should be, and called out her racism and called out all of it. And so that's why she apologized. And, even when she first started getting the critique, she was like, going to do edits. But then after she realized, like, oh my goodness, well, this is what I did to them. She said, to the Black community, I'm not going to, because again, there's no way about, to edit that to make it better. There's no way to do that. After knowing that she erased Meghan, what is she going to do then? Make the woman now Black? It's just like, or by race, like, there's no getting around what she did. That book will always be, people will always know and will attach everything to that book. And so, yeah. It's unbelievable to me. So Michelle says these old crows like AJ had no interest in Harry until he married Meghan. He shows his wife so much love. These Karens want him now. Get out of here, AJ. Your fantasy racism got you caught. Well, I don't, the funny thing with that is I don't know that that's so true, in the sense that nobody wanted Harry before or were interested in Harry, because as far as I've seen, I mean, again, I wasn't following Harry, I knew, and I always liked him because of Princess Diana, but beyond that, I didn't really follow, but I've seen some videos of him where, when he came to the US or go other places where women would be all falling all over themselves for him. I mean, from the looks in their eyes, they had already married and had babies with this man, So I don't know that people weren't interested, but maybe definitely the interest increased when they saw him with Meghan and seeing that love they want. But it seemed to me that a lot of people, especially in the UK, they have they all seem to have had fantasies about marrying Harry, men and women. It seemed. Hello, Dan Wootton. You know, it's just like they were all like, Harry, Harry, Harry. And now that Harry has left, it's just like you can't leave us. So let's see. Joy says she put out the book to see what the fallout was going to be. You're a very good person, Petal. I don't believe her. And look, again, you don't have to. You do not have to accept anybody's apology. I simply do because, look, I have made mistakes. And I always, for me, this is how I think of in everything. I know the mistakes I've made in my life. And I've always, for me, it has always helped me so much when I've gotten grace, when somebody was able to look past, and like, okay, Petal, you deserve this. You deserve not to have a second chance, but I'm going to give you a second chance because somewhere in there, I believe that you are better than what you have just done. And I want to see if you can change your behavior. And so I've always felt that grace, whether it's people or with God, I've always experienced that grace. And so for me, I extend that grace because no matter what we have done in our lives, I always believe that we can do better, we can change. And I'm like, look, if God thinks we can change, then who am I to not think people can change? And so that's how I always look at things. And because I'm like, look, I always want grace because I'm a mess a lot of times and I could do some stupid stuff. And, I'm like, look, if I expect to get grace, then I better be extending grace. And so that's how I look at things. And I always want to look at someone with like, look, I believe whether they choose to be better, whether they choose to change their behavior or not, I just feel like, extending grace and giving them the opportunity to see like, you know what, I'm not going to judge the rest of your life based on whether it's a mistake or whether it's, even if it was a deliberate act, I'm not going to judge you based on it. I'm going to give you an opportunity believing that you can be better than you are right now. And hopefully they take the grace and go with that. And it's one of those things that I looked at, say Dan Wootton. And not that it was grace, but I think of it in the same way. I looked at what his situation with GB News. In that, when all of those things started coming out in July, when all of those reports started coming out in July about what he has done, GB News, they could have just fired him because, all of the negative attention, no matter, GB News is what it is. But for me, the negative attention that brought to the station, I mean, not that, it's, not that it's a great station by any means, but the added negative attention, anybody could be like, look, I'm sorry, this stuff we don't want this, especially that, we don't want that. They could have. Someone who understood, the fact that GB News didn't, and they literally stood by him. Even when an MP said, what are you doing? We want to know what investigation are you doing? GB News, that Angopoulos guy who is now he's under, whatever, a cloud itself. He even said, no, we're not investigating him. For me, I'm looking at that. And if I'm in Dan Wootton's situation, I'm thinking, shoot, that's grace. Because any other, a more, a stricter or an employer who is really about their image would have fired me. I would have be thinking like, shoot, this is grace. They're not, they're not firing me right away. I still get to keep my job. I would be like the best person ever. I would be like kissing everybody's feet, be like, oh my gosh, I still get to keep, in spite of all of those things I've done, they still believe in me and I could be good. That was not Dan Wootton. Instead of understanding the little bit, the goodwill that they had for him, instead of understanding that he was there, He decided to, I don't care. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And I'm just going to still be misogynistic. I'm going to still be attacking Harry and Meghan. I'm going to still be doing the same horrible things, that they were saying, my other staff from other places have said I am. I'm going to still be doing all of those things and not understanding that I'm under grace. And so for somebody like Dan Wootton, it's kind of like, well, you've been given an opportunity to actually be a better person, and you chose to not. You chose to, act like, I'm untouchable. And now I guess he's realizing that he's not untouchable. So it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like when for me, if I'm under grace for something, I want to change. I don't want to be the same person. I want to be, different. And that's kind of how I look at stuff like that. So look, you don't have to accept her apology. Nobody has to, but I hope that this is a teachable moment for her that will open her eyes, that she would go and, learn about racism, learn about her privilege, learn about all of these things. If she didn't know, it seems she didn't. And really, so that she can be a better person. So yeah, so for me, that's just something that's how I think about these things. Anne says, I do not accept her apology. Like everything in Shutter Island, they do things and tick a quick apology and think a quick apology will end everything. It's hollow. Thank for you leaps. I'm not sure what the end of that means, but yeah, again, it would be, it'd be interesting to see what she does after that. If she changes, and if she, at least again, use it as a teachable moment and use it as an opportunity to learn, use it as an opportunity to engage if she doesn't have Black people around her life, or a part of, or at least contribute to the Black community. At least use it as a moment to learn, and I think it can help her. So hopefully that's what she does. We will see. Again, you don't have to accept her apology. Nobody has to. Let's see. Sylvia says, cookies and cream, you're right. That woman is sick. They did go after Harry when he had holes in his shoes, wrinkled clothes, no gel in his hair. Harry upgraded himself after meeting Meghan. Definitely more people are into Harry. He definitely hello, look at Harry's wardrobe at the Invictus Games. That's the best I've seen Harry. Harry was like having his wardrobe changes and everything. I'm like, dude, you go. Let's see. Madwell says, okay, her apology sounds more sincere than the Ireland gymnastics apology. It sure does. It definitely does. So, and again, she chose to squash the book and all of that stuff. So yeah, hey, we'll see. Let's see. Wait, Church Nelly is here? I didn't even see Church Nelly. Hello, Church Nelly. Where you at? Where you at, my friend? I don't even see you in the chat. Oh, here she go. Well, let's see. Church Nelly says, as much as I have a crush on Nacho, I have never in my life put my face on his wife's face. That's crazy. I'm telling you, that is crazy. And there's this reporter, I always forget her name. Kinsey Schofield, who photoshopped her face onto Meghan's face in Harry and Meghan's engagement photo. This woman is sick. And now, well, she blocked me, but so I don't know if she still has it. But she had Mandana Dayani in her profile. I'm like, this woman is a sick stalker. I'm like, why you have Mandana Dayani? I'm like, oh my gosh, this is craziness. But yes, I'm very, very happy that you have not done this, Church Nelly. That would be a little much. That's what I was thinking. Okay, somebody go take away her moonshine because she's lost it. So, um, Joy says she can go and bury her so-called apology. Amma says so phony too, allegedly. Okay. Let's see. Scrolling up, more people. Terry says that's what they all want to see, Meghan disappear. That woman really thinks she could replace Meghan in her twisted, delusional mind. And that's the thing. You see a lot of those things where people would be taught basically, Harry should take his kids and go to the UK, basically erase Meghan. And it's just like, what? I don't understand. I don't understand that kind of thinking. I don't understand it. Let's see. And Lewis says there are many delusional people in the world. That's true. The publisher pulled her book. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Because I mean, after that kind of attention to honestly, she really didn't have a choice. She really did not have a choice, because people would continually go after her, because again, it's racist. It's like, ew. Let's see. Chef Sandy Love says it's so heartbreaking to see Ghanaian sisters Nana and Afua targeting Duchess Meghan. How pathetic. And the funny thing, well, Nana is we've talked about Nana Akufo before. Afua, again, the funny thing with her is, again, she said the things that she says isn't negative in and of themselves about Meghan. It's not negative at all. But the context in which she takes money to appear in, for example, that fake debate about Meghan, that is just like, you don't do stuff like that, because all that is doing is calling negative attention and calling trolls to attack her. And then obviously, comparing and equating Meghan to Donald Trump and calling Meghan divisive, you don't do stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's really, really sad to see women do stuff like that. It's not like Black women do stuff like that. It is just crazy. Oh, Nash, you're welcome. She says, thank you, Petal, for the birthday song. My people are taking me on a surprise weekend trip. They only told me what to pack. Don't know where. Perfect. I hope it's swimsuits and everything, and you will be hanging out on the beach. Just bring, 10 swimsuits and you'll be there 10 days. That's all you need. And some party outfits. Wherever you're going, Nash, I hope you had fun. Lots and lots of fun. So there. And you could come back and tell us all about it. No pressure. So yeah. But happy birthday, and thank you for your donation. I appreciate it so much. She's giving on her birthday. Let's see. Little Max says Sharon, I'm assuming, Sharon was roundly dragged after her criticism of Meghan. Haven't heard no more of that silly story. Was it? I know the last time, with Piers Morgan stuff, she was dragged. And I think recently, or at least I think it's recent, there was a clip of her on Piers Morgan's show again with her whole family and attacking Meghan and Harry. And the funny thing with her, because there was this squatty who posted stuff about Sharon Osbourne, that she was also estranged from her father. She didn't even go to his funeral. She was also estranged from her brother. And it's just like, are you serious? And I hadn't gone and researched her, but that was what was, and I was just like, wait a minute, she is estranged from her brother and her father. She didn't even go to his funeral, and she has the nerve to talk about Meghan. And it's just, the shocking lack of self-awareness of these people is unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. Amazing. Mary says, I suspect they'll be migrating to YouTube to continue their harassment of the Sussex Squad. I just have a funny feeling. Well, I mean, don't be shocked. Don't be surprised. They've, enough people have been making money off hate. And again, consumer. It's the less people consume, the less they make. And so don't consume. Just I think we all have to again, watch ourselves as what we're consuming, because if you're watching, whether it's their channel or whatever, is you're basically putting money in their pockets. So yeah, it just don't. And encourage your friends and family. Don't do that. It's so funny. One of my family members was asking me about some hate channel. I was like, why are you watching it? Why are you watching this hate channel? So yeah, don't be watching that. So yeah. Let's see. Michelle, oh, I love this. It's like a movie character name. Michelle Fierce. Ooh. Michelle says that woman knew exactly what she was doing. That fake apology, like all of them, do even before Meghan. They were drooling over Harry, saying how sexy he was, and they're not used to manliness in Englishmen. Wow. I mean, yeah, again, you don't have to accept her apology, but yeah, it's amazing. Wow. Yeah. Oh wait, Dan Wootton. Did this just come out? Did this just come out? Dan Wootton has been fired. Did this just come out? Let me know if you see if a news bulletin just came out that he was fired. So that would be amazing. Let me know. Byline Times was saying that by next week he will be gone. So, and again, wait, yes. Does that mean that it was GB News just announced it? So let me see. Hang on one second. Let me check Twitter for 1 second and see, and I could just read it right now. Twitter, where are you? Dan Wootton. Hang on. Let's see. Dan Wootton. Katrina said by next week. I saw by next week. Okay. Katrina, I saw by next week. My bad. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sorry, Byline Times has said that for all intents and purposes, he's fired. According to people behind the scene, it would be a miracle if he comes back, and that they were still doing, again, because of his contract, they do have to do due diligence. They do have to, have an investigation, quote unquote investigation into it. They can't just go because of contracts. They have to follow their the guidelines of that. So yeah. So but Byline Times heard from people within GB News that he will be gone, by before next week. So who knows, by the end of the week, Dan Wootton would be out of a job, and poor New Zealand, because that man might be coming back. I was like, there is nothing, I don't care what the people of New Zealand did. You do not deserve to have to deal with Dan Wootton and his mess. You really, really don't deserve that. So anyways, guys, I think that's it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you to our awesome moderators, Lydia, Church, Nelly, Karen M, Cookies and Queen, and Black Queen. Thank you all so much for wonderful work in our chat, making it safe and nice. And thank you to our wonderful 2 Cents crew who support the channel on a monthly basis. Thank you all so very much. And to all of our Gold Star supporters who support in the chat, including Nash, who is her birthday today. Yeah, Nash, happy birthday. And so thank you all so much for your support. Have a fantastic day, whatever you're doing. And, if what I'm going to be doing is I'm going back out today to see if I find that cloud. I don't know if you guys saw my story about a cloud yesterday, but I was outside having my day off and just, having a wonderful day, just clearing my mind. And this wonderful cloud was in front of me, and I literally recorded for 30 minutes this cloud playing peekaboo with me. I'd never seen a cloud form before, and it would just disappear, and then another one would come and just form right in front of me. And so in my mind, I was like, yep, that's God playing games with me. And it was really fun just to sit there and record. I'm actually going to post that whole recording of 30 minutes of clouds going in and out. You can watch it if you want to, don't have to. But it was very cool to see. I'd never seen clouds form before. And so it was really, really interesting that it's right in front of me. The only cloud in the sky was completely clear except that one. And it was just like, that is so interesting. I'd never seen that before. So anyways, I'm gonna go find my cloud again today. So have a fantastic day, guys. If subscribe if you have not subscribed to our channel, go ahead and subscribe. Let me put my little scrolly thing there. There we go. And anyways, have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time tomorrow. I love you all. Bye.